Ultra.
Goes huge for Ultra, and they get their first home series victory.
Hi, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of CA Esports. I'm one of your hosts, Spencer. With me is Chris. We have a very exciting episode for you guys today. Obviously, we get to talk about the Toronto Defiant and how we think they're going to perform in the upcoming Summer Showdown. And then also we get to talk about the Toronto Ultra and obviously their debut on LAN. So that
Let's
kind
go.
of out of the way, let's just jump right into things.
Let's bring it back. Let's bring it back in the way.
Yeah,
it's coming back in the way.
How's it going, Chris?
I'm stoked. I am literally so happy that we are finally cheering for a team that's really good in this league.
For Toronto.
Like, I'm not kidding. I think one of my biggest kind of like points in contention in the first. Hold up, 1 sec. I got some technical difficulties here. Okay, never mind. I'm back. One of the biggest points of contention after Toronto Ultra won their first major was like, can we keep this up? Is a sign that we can keep going. And I think that we've gone to that point that I am so confident in the Ultra that they're a top tier team that I don't think LAN will do any significant harm versus the Ultra, even though I know that we are a fairly unexperienced LAN team.
Yeah, I know. I think your mic is beeping a little bit, but anyways, we'll power through here, and if it's okay, then we can obviously go back. But yeah, I completely agree. So when Ultra won stage 2, I was definitely concerned that it was a bit of a blip, right? That this was going to be the same Ultra team that like won champs during Modern Warfare, and then kind of came in. Sorry, not won champs. Won whatever the final stage was, their homestand in Modern Warfare, came into champs and had a really good performance, but then kind of tapered off and ended up losing to like London, which was a team that when I saw them win, I very much thought they would beat London. Right, and you could argue if I believe Zero didn't leg out in that first match, they might have even been knocked out earlier. We'll never know. Regardless, I was very afraid that we might follow that same trajectory where we win the stage 2 because I always thought that we were a dark horse team. I always knew we had the talent to do it, and then teams would start to put more focus on us, and then they would figure us out, and then we would become a bad team, but we would stop being one of those top 2, top 3 teams and maybe go back down to that like 5, 6 range, which is where I thought we would end up. And then stage 3 happened, and they completely proved all the doubters wrong. Right? They go 5-0 in their group stage. They go into a tournament where they play the Atlanta FaZe, the champions, the best team in the league, to 2 very, 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 very close map 5 losses, and they finish a very clear top 3 team. They then go into stage 4, and they start off a little bit sluggish versus sluggish versus the Florida. I was gonna say Mayhem, the Florida Mutineers, which is a good Florida Mutineers team, and then they're able to bounce off. I believe they win like 9 straight maps and then 12 straight maps. Regardless, they won the next 4 matches, including a 3-0 versus NYSL, which at that point was, considered to be the second best team. Now, I know that NYSL had some issues behind the scenes in terms of visas and practice and being sick. Regardless, it was a very impressive performance to see Ultra go from losing 3-2, a very close 3-2 to Florida, and then rattling off 4 straight wins, and then once again getting that first place team. So all of the signs are pointing towards Toronto Ultra being a very legit powerhouse. Now, this will be the first time that we see this iteration of the squad on LAN. It's not the first time that these individuals have played on LAN, right? It's not like a complete rookie. Like, they have played on LAN before. They've had success on LAN before. But I do think that it's going to be very, very, very interesting to see whether or not they're able to maintain that championship caliber status, or whether or not maybe they do fall off just a little bit, or the pressure's a little bit too much. Me personally, I'm in the field of this is going to be a legit championship contender team, and I only have them losing to FaZe. And if there is another team to upset them, it could be Optic, especially if they play Optic in like the losers finals, for instance, and like the pressure's really on. At that point, a championship team with all the experience in the world like Optic might be able to catapult themselves over them. But for the most part, if they're able to put together like a really good performance and get far in this tournament, I think they will shut up all of the remaining haters. And to be frank, there's not a lot of them left.
Yeah, and I also think it's really important to note that even since they had that stage through a stage 2 win, I think they've even had some good progression to get better. I think in stage 3 they were a very solid 2-3-5 team, but I think especially when we see their performance versus the NYSL in this recent game, we've noticed that they've actually made some really, really good strides on their hard point.
Yep.
And not to say like hardpoint's their weakness, not to say it's a weak point. Like they're still like very competitive in hardpoint, but my standards are now a lot higher. So I'm now evaluating them and like they've even gotten better at hardpoint too. Yeah. But I do agree with you. I think Optic is, if we see them in losers final, they have beat a ton of other teams, which means they're hot.
Exactly.
So this is the one thing about Optic. I think they're a team that can get very hot and be very cold at times. So if they're at that point, they're hot, they're something to be very concerned about. Now, the one thing still kind of going for us in the LAN part is that we don't have actual fans. Yeah. There's going to be no fans there. So Kleenex isn't going to be getting yelled at by fans for fucking up a trade or something like that. Like, he's not going to have that mental boom. At the same time, I'm pretty sure they have noise canceling headphones that...
Well, they're a mentally strong team regardless, right? Look at somebody like Insight. Like, I don't think that this is a team with like notorious mentally weak players. Like, Insight is the reason he was picked up. One of the reasons is the guy's just a winner, right? He's just won at every level he's played at. They had a very fantastic run at champs in BO4. So somebody like Insight's done it. Bance has done it before. He's won on LAN, right? So he's not new to it. Cammy and Kleenex are probably the two who I'm like less confident in their LAN performance. I know Kleenex did have a very, 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 very good Black Ops 4 performance at champs where he smoked Envy, but he is like a little bit less experienced. And I do know that Cammy, I believe, is more known for his online play than he was for his LAN, right? He struggled at the beginning of Modern Warfare a little bit, had some shaky moments on LAN for Black Ops 4. So I'm a little bit more worried about those two transitioning it, but I'm not actually worried, if that makes sense. Like, it's kind of like at the back of my mind, but at the same time, I wouldn't predict it. And I have a lot of faith that they're going to be able to overcome that and perform. I also completely agree. When we did win stage 2, the team was sort of carried by their search and destroy. And teams started to figure that out. And I think it's a great sign that Ultra was able to recounter that by one, still being a good search and destroy team, being one of the best control teams in the game. And you're right, their hardpoint is now on par, in my opinion, with the best of them.
And the thing is too is that, just to take this one step further, they've really done a good job at expanding their map pool as well.
Yep.
Like, let's get serious. After they did so well in Raid, people are just permabanning Raid left, right, and center. And Ultra's done a really good job at being able to find other maps to really be good at. Obviously, I'm thinking
Garrison Control. Yep.
Garrison Control, even maybe Garrison Hardpoint, Checkpoint, Standoff. No, not Standoff.
Yeah, we banned Standoff.
Checkmate. Checkmate Hardpoint.
Checkmate Hardpoint, yeah. I think Checkmate Hardpoint.
Yeah, Checkmate Hardpoint is not too bad. Not necessarily Checkpoint Control.
Checkmate Control is gone, though. That was new, right? Then we don't do Checkmate Control anymore. So yeah, it doesn't matter because Control, we pretty much. Anyways, we banned the other one. They ban Raid, and we just play Garrison. Like, we just play Garrison all the time. So as long as we have Raid and Garrison sort of in that like wheelhouse for us, I think we're good.
Yeah. Anyway, let's pivot and go towards the less exciting part of
the Toronto Defiant.
Of the Toronto franchises, the Toronto Defiant. Now, this is a team that they aren't on a breaking point yet, but on the cusp of one. Like, we got to give them a little leeway. What?
This is their final stand. Like, I think that I agree that we give them leeway. Sorry, I'm cutting you off, but just because I know exactly where you're going to go. You're going to give them some leeway because of the fact that they had a potential COVID outbreak with Logix, who end up in the hospital, and Hisu, which are legitimate, very legitimate reasons, I think, to like have a strain on your practice if you have two players who are like fighting off COVID and in the hospital. Adam and other people within the organization were very vocal on Twitter about some of the struggles that have went on behind the scenes in regards to that and the lack of practice and stuff like that. So they absolutely have the benefit of the doubt. I would like to have seen more progression from stage 1 to stage 2. We did not see that. Was that potentially a reason why? Absolutely. But this is it, right? You start off 3-1, it's great. You go 1-3, you're now 4-4. If you want to qualify for the playoffs, you really need to start racking up some wins. You have Vancouver Titans, which should be an easy win, but outside of that, I believe you play Florida, Dallas, and Gladiators.
Tough.
That's a tough schedule. So in my opinion, you really got to sneak out a win versus one of those three teams. And if Toronto once again goes 1-3, or God forbid 0-4, I think you're going to start to see some changes. We saw Aspire come in, and he actually looked fantastic. Will we see him back? I generally don't know. I think Nice has really disappointed me this year. I think the tank coordination has disappointed me this year. I think that Lastro has been
Lastro's disappointed me.
Yeah, he's been over aggressive. It's hard to say though with the tank coordination and Lastro being over aggressive. Are these like, is this just the team not being cohesive as a whole, and therefore because they're like the most aggressive, they get like picked off the most and they stand out the most, or is this like one of those individuals simply not performing? Nice, I generally think I've watched moments where he himself, I'm like, Nice needs to play a more passive angle and he'll just bolt right in there and die. But I wonder about like, last show and the tank line, if this is just a thing where like the team is not on the same page and therefore they aren't as well. So anyways, long story short, this is a very, very important stage for Toronto. If you get like 2-2, I think you're fine. If you start to see improvements with how they play and improvement in the alt usage, I think they're fine, because we've seen throughout this whole time, the talent's there. They just, man, they really need to figure that out. And if they don't, I seriously think you need to start to look into maybe bringing in one more piece and hope that you can end on a high note and really pop off in that stage 4.
Yeah, I think you said all of it right there. Like, the thing is that teamwork has been kind of their main issue. So how do you bring in new pieces while still trying to build on that teamwork? Like, I think the pure skill hasn't been too much of an issue. It's just them working together has been kind of that core tough part. So like, what does bringing a new person really do? I
kind of agree. At the same time, we've seen it before where like if one person like Nice, for instance, keeps going in there early and dying, if you pair him with someone a little bit more passively, a little bit more vocal, assuming that the language makes sense, I do think you can notice a change. But at the same time, maybe we see Aztec come in. I don't know. It's hard to say.
I want to see some Aztec. I mean,
yeah, it's hard to say because it's just hard to determine how much of the poor performance and the lack of progression was due to the COVID situation. And I don't want to bag on this team too hard because I don't know what was going on behind the scenes. And I'm not going to sit here and act like that couldn't have played a major part. So I'm hoping, knock on wood, that stuff has been, figured out for the most part. And I think this is going to be a very, very important stage. And I'm hoping we see some progression.
Yeah, I agree with that. And with that, let us know, guys. Like, if you guys are Toronto franchise fans, which team are you more excited for?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're a Toronto franchise fan, I don't know how you say Toronto Defiant, but if you're, let us know which team you're most excited for. Are you more of a Defiant fan, more of an Ultra fan? But let us know, who are you looking for to have the most bounce back performance for Defiant? I guess it's a question for me. Do you think it's going to be Sato kind of returning to form, being a top 5 main tank? Do you think it's going to be Last Show returning to form, being a top 5 flex support? Do you think Nice is going to be able to figure out? Do you think he's going to come back in the lineup and absolutely slap City and show why he's the best in the league? Is Aspire going to be a permanent thing that we see here? So let us know who you think is going to bounce back. And with that being said, guys, thank you for watching and enjoy.